Besides being very easy to use, the program is completely customizable. We can enter other items that might need repair. For example, if you have to do a survey, or if you need helical piers maybe to correct some structural defects, those amounts can go into here. If, for instance, you have concrete or asphalt, you'd merely put in the square footage of each that you need here. These percentages allow you to determine what portion of these major items need repair. For example, if the floors in the living and dining area have ceramic tile that you'd like to keep, you may only be doing 65% of the floors, and you can enter that number here like this and press enter. Then only 65% of the floors will be considered. Another neat feature is that move over here, and if any of these numbers are slightly different from what your actual experiences are, or what deals you may be able to get, or what your contractors charge, you can actually enter those numbers over here. For example, instead of 81 cents per square foot, if it cost you $1.10 per square foot for your interior painting, you can enter that number here, and instead of $972 for your interior painting, the price goes to $13.20. And that's available for all of these major items. If, for instance, if the index was different, you could come here and put your index in. For example, if your index was 1.5 instead of 1.8, you could enter that here. And correspondingly, all of the numbers change for this amount. If, for instance, you wanted to see what these amounts would be after your contractor added their 15% onto them, what you could do is take the 15% out here by deleting it there and add it into here. For example, if we wanted all of these numbers to come out to be 15% higher, we would add 15% or 0.15 to this 1.5, and then the index would be 1.65. We would hit enter there, and thereby the 40,564.24 that we got here, we got the same number by doing this, or by leaving it at the 1.5. We'll see here, if we put in the 15% here, we still have that 40,564. Let's hit enter. And we go down, and we still have the 40,576. It's a few cents off, but it's an excellent way to do it also. But the overall still comes out to our $43,000, because remember, this is an estimate. So that's why we always round up to the next $1,000. We can, at this point, click back to the MESO and see that this $33,000 for repairs is added in here, which lowers our MESO down to $101,000, or we may actually want to offer, say, $95,000 cash on this house. We'll go over here to the calculator, and we're feeling generous today, so we'll offer $100,000 cash for the cash that we'll give the seller at closing. For instance, we can give them 10% at closing, which is $10,000. And we'll look at generally an investment period of either 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, 17 years. This is the beginning or initial investment period here, which is 24 months or 2 years, and it'll increase by 3 years each here. You can change these numbers accordingly once you get a better feel of what the seller is looking for. We put in 6% here. This would be a good percentage for us as an investor, or even someone who's trying to purchase a home who can't really get good financing at this time. 6% would be really excellent for them. And in the same respect, if the seller was taking that $90,000 and putting it into a savings account, CDs, whatever, 6% is attractive. So we'll hit enter here, and the program will go through its gyrations, and we get our results here. We see here that the program calculated that if the seller is willing to let his equity, which is the $90,000 here, remain in the property for some period of time while we pay them $539.60 each month, which is the monthly payment based on 360 months or 30 years, then the periods which are here are used to compute what the seller would actually get overall. For example, if the seller was willing to work with us for 2 years, then he'd actually be getting $110,600 for the property. If he's willing to work with us for 5 years, he could actually get $126,000 for the property. On up to 204 months, which is 17 years, they could be getting $178,000 for the property overall. This means that the monthly payments would come to these. For example, if it's 5 years, the monthly payments would come to a little over $32,000, and at the end of that 5 years, they would receive almost $84,000 in cash at the conclusion. If for any reason during this 5-year agreement the buyer of the property decides to refinance or whatever, the seller could get more or less for the property. One of the provisions that can be put in if you are the seller of the property is to state that if for any reason they want to refinance the property or whatever, then that this total amount has to be paid. As buyer of the property, though, we would not put that provision in.